Living in rural Kentucky, with our closest neighbors a half-mile away, makes nature a powerful influence in my life. Nature helps to replenish my soul through every pore in my body. Fills my senses with the richness of its colors, sounds, and fragrances. I am continually grateful for the way these influences soothe the everyday stresses inherent in this modern life. It makes no difference if it comes in the form of the raw power of severe weather, a breezy spring day, or the still, lazy days of summer. Whenever I connect with nature, it always makes me feel a little bit more alive and at peace. Then it seems that with a brief, glorious splash of color, the vibrancy and activity of the growing season is gone, to be replaced with the dark, cold days of winter. For me, winter is not a brief lapse in nature, but is instead the beginning of a new process, the process of regeneration. Winter brings about mornings in which I am awakened by the tapping of a titmouse, opening sunflower seeds, and the plethora of other birds that cluster around our feeder. Flocks of wild turkeys venture just outside my window in search of a meal. And the early winter garden fills our refrigerator as the hoarfrost creeps across these fields, turning them into a fairy wonderland. Water is a strange and wonderful element, and it produces some very interesting results when it freezes. And as the north wind chases the sun's southerly descent across these Kentucky fields, it brings with it one of the oddest and most artistic expressions of ice formations that I've ever experienced. Graceful, spectacular, bizarre, and way too cool are about the best adjectives that I can use to describe their strange beauty. They form from the base of two common weeds in our area, known as the wingstem and white crownbeard, when temperatures drop down into the 20s. The stem splits apart from the cold, and out from it pours forth fluffy ice fountains. Some are thin and delicate, some broad and intricate, while others can twist and turn for over 2 feet. Anywhere from 1 to over a dozen of these delicate bands can come out of a single stem. If an artist were to create a 30-foot replica of one of these as a city sculpture, it would almost certainly stop traffic. Yet here they are, scattered across the ground by the thousands, and yet they go largely unnoticed. I've heard reports of frost flowers occurring in surrounding states, and that this phenomenon occurs in some plants other than the wingstem and the white crownbeard. The two varieties are nearly identical in appearance, with the exception of the color and size of their flowers. Both have fleshy wings that run the length of the stem. They are tall weeds that can reach a height of 10 feet and can be persistent in some pastures, since livestock do not eat them. Though most often they are delegated to the edges of the fields due to frequent mowing. Their flowers are a favorite of many pollinating insects. Which in turn makes the plant a favorite perch for predators awaiting a meal. Filming and photographing these little beauties poses many challenges, for as soon as the sun comes up, their days, or I should say their hours, are numbered, as they are often gone by noon. They normally only occur for just a few short days a year, so time is of the essence. There were thousands of specimens, patiently waiting to be photographed, but since they would only be there for just a few short hours, I had to focus on quantity rather than quality. Capturing the subtle shades of white is difficult without proper lighting, but lighting takes time, and time was one thing I did not have. All of the specimens in this film came from within a half-mile radius of our house. And I can only imagine what the results might have been in other areas. The frost flower season is different each year, with spectacular blooms occurring once every 6 years or so, with much less impressive years in between. The best displays of frost flowers seem to occur when a mild fall ends with a sudden hard freeze, especially if the freeze lasts for a few days, since the frosty ribbons seem to grow a bit more each night. If there are too many mild freezes, they go through this process half-heartedly, and by the time the colder weather finally sets in, they are mostly spent. But the winter of 2010 proved to be an exceptional year for frost flowers. And it just so happened that I had plans to make a serious effort to capture them on film, so everything seemed to fall in place. Deciding how to film the frost flowers as they were forming required creative problem solving for a solo filmmaker with limited resources. I had only one camera that could be automated to capture the nighttime process. With just this single camera and a limited window of time, I had to quickly figure out the best way to film them, as their season was quickly approaching. First, I had to locate a clump of wingstem weeds that were close enough to electricity to power my equipment through the night. Then I had to choose which ones I thought had the best possibility of good blooms, though ultimately, I had to hope that luck would be on my side. Next, I had to use lights that did not put out a lot of heat. So I pulled a couple of fluorescents out of storage. Finally, I had to prepare for the fact that some digital cameras do not function well in sub-zero temperatures. So I put a small heat pack on the back of my camera and hoped for the best. The results of the first night were disastrous, as moist air rolled up from the river and fogged up the camera lens. Luckily, there was another patch just outside my window, So the following night, I was able to film from the comfort of my bedroom. Though they weren't the best specimens, it did work. Why this process occurs in this plant and not others in this area is largely a mystery to me. But it does seem to be the result of its root system and the bulbous knot at the base of the stem. It seems that when the water in the stem freezes, the stem splits from the pressure and expansion of the ice and pushes outwards, drawing more water up from the bulbous knot at the base. This water then freezes and pushes outward, and the process continues until the water supply is spent. The source of water below ground freezes. Or, as usually the case, daylight arrives, bringing with it warmer temperatures. They are so delicate that I often broke them in my efforts to clear around them for photographs. A slight tap on the stem can cause them to shatter. So this patch had to be carefully cleared before I could get in to set up my tripod. Even in less impressive years, the internal structure of these delicate formations can be quite impressive. I imagine this intricate structure is the result of the freezing water getting squeezed through the cell structure or fibers of the stem, resulting in a myriad of lacy filaments that connect to form detailed sheets of fluffy ice. Or can separate to form a crazy concoction of designs. It was beginning to get dark. I only had an hour or so of daylight, as the late afternoon sun cast a deceptively warm yellow glow over my last few shots. And though they were not forecasting warmer temperatures, there was snow in the forecast. As it turned out, the snow did fall, covering the icy blooms with a soft white blanket. So this afternoon turned out to be the last hours I would be able to spend with the frost flowers. Till next year. Think about this for a moment. These common formations are created in just a few short hours. They are beautiful, complex, and elegant. There is literally no effort needed for this process to occur. The fact that they can elicit awe, joy, and inspiration through an event that just happens is an example of what I want my life to be more like. Joyful, creative, and effortless. Nature always seems to be able to take a simple event and turn it into a profound experience for me. I remember when I first started taking pictures. I was so impressed with the images of the great Ansel Adams, and I aspired to take pictures like that. So here I am, tens of thousands of pictures later. As I look around at hundreds of incredible works of art scattered across the ground, so effortless, with such reckless abandon. And tomorrow, when the temperatures rise again, they will be gone. Maybe that's part of our downfall. Maybe we try too hard. Maybe we forget too easily that our greatest beauty and our greatest creativity is nothing more than simply being alive. Part of me feels a little guilty, as if I'm just taking advantage of someone else's artwork. I think of the high cost of the rights to use another person's music, artwork, or images. But then I hear a voice inside my head that assures me that the only payment needed here is appreciation. And so it is that events such as these always tend to bring to mind the old adage, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, does it make a sound? I'm inclined to think that it just might be that maybe nobody is listening.